Hi, this is Nick and you're watching Plot Points. Now the story of a show that lost confidence in its fourth season, and the one man who made the questionable choice to edit it all together. It's Arrested Development. So, Arrested Development Season 5 is out, but a few weeks before its debut, we were served a major update of Season 4. The original fourth season was a bit of an experiment. The show had been off the air for 7 years, the main cast were involved in other projects, and the Netflix format of releasing whole seasons in a single drop completely changed the landscape. The result was a 15-episode season that told one big, interwoven story, with each episode following a particular character and revisiting events from that character's perspective. It's really ambitious, and for my money it paid off, but that didn't stop a lot of fans from thinking it was a flaming pile of trash. I guess people like what they're used to. So, 5 years later, the show's creator, Mitch Hurwitz, decided to re-edit the 15-episode season into 22 standard-length episodes that ostensibly feature more conventional storytelling. The reasons behind this seem to be a combination of bowing to fan pressure and preparing the series for the possibility of eventual syndication.
Are you trying to do this?
Yes!
The concept of radically altering a season of television years after release is absolutely fascinating, and a definite testament to the adage that stories are made in the editing room. But unfortunately, the results in this case aren't great. In this video, we're going to look at 5 reasons that the Season 4 remix just doesn't work. As a general PSA, you can still find the original Season 4 on Netflix by looking under Trailers and More, and I highly recommend watching the original cut before checking out the remix. But anyway, let's have a look at 5 ways the remixed Season 4 makes for a worse viewing experience. Number 1. This is where I need to issue a major spoiler warning, but if you're planning on watching the Season 4 remix, it probably doesn't matter, because my biggest beef with the re-edit is that the new structure completely spoils some of the season's most important plot points.
Hey, that's the name of the show.
So a lot of the humor and the wordplay in Arrested Development is based on misunderstanding. There's loads of phrases that mean one thing to one character and something else to another character. This is something fans have always loved about the show, because much of the wordplay is really ingenious. The original version of Season 4 dials this concept up to 11 by drawing the audience into an intricate web of miscommunication and misunderstanding. Characters and situations and dialogue that seemed a certain way at first glance take on new meaning as the season carefully unfolds, with later episodes revisiting earlier events and often changing their significance. This adds a ton of rewatch value, and the writing behind this multi-layered narrative is pretty impressive. But now that Season 4 is laid out in chronological order, we don't get the same kinds of aha moments that cast previous episodes in a new light, and it's a tragedy. One of the biggest reveals in the whole season is that George Michael's software company, FakeBlock, is actually just an electric woodblock app. In the original season, this revelation is glorious. It comes in the very last episode and suddenly recolors dozens of moments throughout the season.
And my software isn't even ready.
But we now see George Michael conceive of his woodblock app in the 10th of 22 episodes, which means viewers of the remix see most of these moments with full knowledge of the twist.
Come on.
Likewise, the plot surrounding Rebel Allie and the mystery man she's dating has all the tension sucked out of it because it's George Michael. She's dating George Michael. In fact, Rebel's first appearance in the remix is meeting George Michael at the Opie Awards, so plot elements like Michael finding the dead dove in Rebel's apartment, Michael and Job's confrontation at the little ballroom, and Job's relationship with Tony Wonder no longer serve as clever misdirection. The show still makes a mystery of it, but now that we start with the answer, it's deeply unsatisfying. Number 2. The new season relies way too much on narration. Since the original 4th season isn't in chronological order, the writers had to find creative ways to thread coherent narrative arcs through the season and bring characters into contact with each other. One way they achieved this was by introducing Michael to Ron Howard and sending him on a quest to acquire his family members' movie rights. This is a season-long arc and gives Michael a reason to appear in nearly every episode, requesting signatures. Another way the writers grounded the season was by establishing several touchstone events, like the aftermath of the boat crash, George Michael's going-away party, Lucille's trial, Job's wedding, the Opie Awards, and Cinco de Cuatro, and featuring these events in almost every episode from new points of view. But in the remix, Michael doesn't meet Ron Howard until more than halfway through the season, and these touchstone events are now one-offs. So the tasks of momentum and cohesion fall to the narration. Don't get me wrong, Ron Howard's narration has always been one of the best parts of the show, but asking it to shoulder this burden is asking too much. The new narration spends a lot of time making jokes and explaining why events that aren't connected are actually connected, sometimes going on for 4 or 5 minutes at a stretch. Arrested Development has always been a smart show, a show that trusts its viewers to figure things out for themselves and doesn't care if a joke flies under the radar. But the narration in the remix is about as subtle as driving a stair car. Number 3. A lot of good material has been outright cut from the show. Brevity may be the soul of wit, but there's a big difference between judicious cuts during the original editing process and yanking lines from the show years after the fact. I'm sure the original version of Season 4 left plenty of jokes on the cutting room floor, but there's quite a few scenes in the remix where a line or a joke has been plucked right out of a segment of dialogue, and if you've watched the original, a lot of these moments feel awkward, like something's missing.
It's only a trial separation. Made a pun. Even in this time of stress.
In other cases, scenes feel rushed or stunted because they've had lines ripped out and the new scene isn't stitched together very well. Here's a scene from the original where P-Hound gives George Michael a peace offering.
You know what? This is no longer a peace pizza. That is a war pizza.
Okay, that's fine. Do you want to take it back or?
No, I already ate. That's for you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy your war pizza!
And here's that same scene in the remix.
You know what? This is no longer a peace pizza. That is a war pizza.
Okay, that's fine.
Enjoy your war pizza!
The edit is painfully obvious, and the scene feels rushed. It just seems like they're leaving a hole right in the middle of the dialogue. There's dozens of other scenes like this in the remix where little tidbits have been removed and clunkily patched over, which kind of sucks because some of these moments were actually really funny, but I guess they were literally throwaway lines. Number 4. A lot of jokes make no sense anymore because they've completely lost their reference points. Thanks to the new structure, quite a few punchlines have had their setup cut from the show, or the setup has been moved to a different episode from the one in which the punchline appears, which in many cases completely undermines the humor. So a good example of this is that, in the remix, this scene where babyface singer Mark Cherry writes a song subtly encouraging Job to get away doesn't exist. So when Lucille says,
I need to get away. Get away. You're hopelessly hopeless, Buster. It's as if they wrote that song for my own son.
the audience isn't in on the joke. The punchline's still there, but without the setup, it's unintelligible. Or take this example. Both versions of Season 4 feature an episode that ends with Tobias inadvertently starring in an episode of To Entrap a Local Predator, and before he comes face to face with John Beard, the narrator wonders if this will finally get Tobias to admit that he sometimes did speak in a misleading way. But the narrator's comment makes a lot more sense in the original cut, because it refers to a scene from the beginning of the episode.
When in the last year have I said anything remotely It's just a fallacy leading.
This scene still exists in the remix, but it's in a completely different episode, so instead of functioning as a punchline that neatly ties the episode together, it's just a random callback to a moment you might have remembered. And speaking of episodes not being tied together neatly,
Cut to?
Number 5. Individual episodes have had their plots substantially weakened. In the original run of the show, Arrested Development functioned like any other sitcom, telling a pretty much self-contained story in each episode. In the 4th season, each episode focused on a single character and contributed to the overall seasonal narrative, but the writers still made sure that individual episodes were plotted out with a beginning, middle, and end that made thematic sense. This helps to make each episode a good viewing experience on its own merits. But when the 15 original episodes were pulled apart and stretched into 22, the seasonal arc remained intact and individual episodes lost out. Look at this episode from the remix, Just Deserters. Lucille's quote-unquote arc in this episode is to have breakfast in bed, smoke for a while, play Guess the Fur, argue with Buster, and then the episode just sort of ends. This isn't a plot. It's just a series of jokes. The rest of the remix is rife with similar examples. The original script just wasn't designed to tell 22 individual stories, so it's kind of inevitable that the diluted episodes would end up with some pretty lame subplots. So there you have it, 5 ways the 4th season is weaker in the remix. Of course it isn't all bad. Some of the new jokes are pretty good, and the Bluth family is always entertaining. But at the end of the day, the 4th season will always work best the way it was originally designed. But who knows? Maybe I'll re-edit this video in a few years, and make it seem like I actually thought the remix was a good idea. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the 4th season, and be sure to check out some of the other videos on this channel. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more plot points. Cheers.